We are live
We
with
are live.
we are live up in here on Substack. I am J.R. Whittington or James Ricardo if you're nasty. Because and I welcome you all to Black with My Friends, Black Out Loud. My guest today is one of my dear ones, J. Edward Lucas or John Lucas or whatever you want. What do you go by? John Lucas?
John Lucas or John E. Lucas. That's my SAG's stage name.
Your SAG stage name. Come on, SAG. Come on, Screen Actors Guild. Uh, working with Ariana Grande this year and working with Christine. Oh, who else you work with? Cynthia
Oh, Cynthia
Revo.
Erivo.
Yes.
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo and the whole cast of Wicked. That was a good time on that
And,
TV special
and Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl
at the Hollywood Bowl.
and things. I started this because I was struck by, well, I'm always struck by the 1971 conversation between Baldwin and Nikki Giovanni on Soul. And I was like, I'm going to bring that black online. And so I came up with 10 questions that I'm going to ask each guest when I have them, all different walks of life. And I sent them the questions because I sent them the questions because I did not want you to cancel yourselves. That's my goal, is for us not to get canceled because we can go deep. We can go real deep, and I do not want us to get canceled. So,
Right.
that's our goal, not to get canceled, right? You agree to that, John?
I agree. I agree.
All right, so we're just going to jump right in, and thank you, Sean Taylor, and the creative visionary for joining. Thank you so much. You two in particular on Substack have been like a rock for me. So I am just very, very happy to have two of my favorite humans on Substack. I'm newer to Substack and you have supported my work. And I just want you to know that I'm very grateful for you and thank you for joining us. Um, John, we're gonna jump right into these questions. All right.
All righty.
Love letter to the culture, as I say. First question is, where did we meet and what were your first thoughts of me? Uh-oh.
So where did we meet? We met in March of
Don't you be giving no years. What year you about to give? Go ahead. What year you about to give? Okay, go ahead. March or what?
March of 2001.
I was a fetus.
March of 2001. We were starting a contract with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. You were a singer and I was a dancer back then. And my first impression of you was because I think we you had gotten there first to the apartment that we were all going to stay at, the boys that were in the cast, and I came second. And I was excited. I was excited, for this new break. I was, had been in Chicago after college and trying to figure out life, and I had gotten this opportunity. And so I was excited, and you were just kind of apprehensive. You didn't know, you know, how to take me, and I was like, I don't care. We're gonna be friends. So just get used to it. We're gonna be friends.
I
Um,
wasn't ready for you. I know I wasn't because you were giving
oh, it was a
you
good
were
time,
giving energy.
man.
Well,
I was
what was your
like.
impression of me? What was it? It was just that I was quiet or apprehensive.
It was quiet and at first, and then when I got to know you, I was like, oh yeah, we definitely gonna be friends.
I love it. Second question: what is Black culture to you?
Black culture to me, well, Black American culture to me is America. Like so many things in this country take place and have the exist because of us, from our rhythm to our innovation to um our intellect. Just all of it is us. Now it's taken a while for the truth to come out. We're still learning truths, time and time again, about our contributions and what really happened in this country and so on and so forth. But it's like every day there's a new revelation that we are one of the most important kind of forces in this country of America and around the world.
I agree. I agree. I love that answer. Next question. What is your favorite part about being black?
My favorite part about being black is the unspoken community of a sort, right? Like there are things that black people understand that others do not understand, and it is very specific to us. Whether it is a rhythm, whether it is a line dance, whether it is certain sayings that only are said in black households. Um, there is a beauty in that. And even though sometimes we can seem to be disjointed, um, those experiences, those shared experiences, show us that we're more together, and more of a community than we actually think sometimes.
Ooh, and why do you say then we actually think sometimes? I'm going off script. I'm just curious.
I think because um, there can be disjointedness amongst the community, different views, opinions on just a myriad of different things, right? But um, if we allow to if we allow media to continue to paint a picture of who we are as a collective, a lot of times we'll feed into it, and think that we are kind of separate from each other and kind of siloed when oftentimes we are together. We do have the same viewpoints and the same goals and aspirations. So you kind of have to shake and sift the information that media tells us about us,
Love that
if you
answer.
will.
Next one. Do you think black artists have it harder? Hmm. And what has your personal journey as one been?
Um, I will say yes, um, because we are constantly being critiqued and judged, um, versus oftentimes a white aesthetic, a white viewpoint, um, as we try to fit in this box, if you will. And so that can be, I mean, it's not as hard as it once was, but that doesn't, but you can't, in the same breath, you can't just say that it's easy, and that everything is just great and hunky dory. So for me, coming into the musical theater world, um, came to New York with just high hopes and was excited and, happy to be there and found, um, my height to be an issue. I am 6'5". And as a dancer, I was taller than everybody. And
Mm,
I had missed the wave of all the tall dance shows or the wave of choreographers actually embracing tall people, right? So all the dancers were like 5'8", 5'9", and there I was 6'5". So um, they couldn't cast me in a lot of shows in the chorus because I was young. I was a youngster. I was like 25, at the time. At the same time, um,
you were
I was
also a
young.
bass.
Right, a base. So with that, it was also as they were they were hiring a lot shorter dancers. They were also hiring black men with higher voices.
Right.
Billy Porter came in, um, yelling and screaming and singing the walls down, and then they expected all black males to sing like that. And when you're coming into, yourself as an artist and you're a bass baritone, um, oftentimes there was no space for you, or you were immediately written off because you weren't a tenor,
Yeah.
even though they might need you in the show. They might need basses in the show, but they hired all tenors and very tenors. And so it
I love
was it
that.
was tricky for me. I was like, in a sense, I have met wonderful people in New York City and had some wonderful experiences, but musical theater has whooped my ass.
No doubt.
And I've made it to almost to being booked on a couple of Broadway tours. Almost doesn't count. Um,
But you
And
just got done singing with doing Jesus Christ Superstar in LA at the Hollywood Bowl with Cynthia Erivo, a black
yes,
queer
so
human.
it's fabulous, and it was a great experience, right? But at the same time, that was like my big break. That was one of the big things for me, and I'll be 50 in August, right? So I'm like
Ooh,
the Morgan Freeman of musical theater. I bust out when I'm pushing 50, right?
ooh.
Versus watching all your other friends book their first Broadway gig at 28, you know.
Don't be looking at me when you say that.
I'm just saying, you know. So it
And why you gonna
as
say my exact age that I booked the Broadway show,
were
and then
you?
look at me and
I didn't
say,
know. I was just throwing a number out there. I didn't realize
"Oh,
you were actually 28.
I was actually 28."
Right. And so of course I had to learn everybody has their own walk, and they will, you know, they will come into their bounty in their own time. But it is hard sitting around watching everybody else book um these gigs, because they're just as talented as you, but they're shorter. So they
And
work
so,
all the time.
taking away your height, taking away the base,
Uh-huh.
what about blackness was hard in the
Um,
performance?
Blackness. So when it comes to the perception of blackness, you find that when you are really tall, they expect you to be this black buck.
Ah,
That's what they want out of you. This ultra hyper masculine, person. I mean, masculinity has kind of morphed throughout the decades, right? Because when you look at men in the 70s, I mean, Negroes was wearing, halter tops and, you know, kicking it and had their arms around one another, and, was pressing the hair and just, doing all types of things. And their idea of masculinity was different. And so even in theater, in musical theater, they oftentimes feed deeper into that hyper masculine persona, especially when you're a black male.
imagine.
You don't have to be as hyper masculine when you're white.
Clock it, as they say. Um, Colorism amongst blackness and colorism in the arts. Did that affect you? I mean, I know I have a whole story about myself and my light skin privilege and being in shows because of my skin color and being the one black person in the show, and then watching that all of sudden shift where it became like the black dude with the bald head was booking all the work and the muscular Tay Diggs type started to
Yeah.
walk in, and then I started to lose out on opportunities, and my pretty boy went out the window. And I'm not complaining because they deserve it because they were in the background for a very long time, but it
Hmm.
still was hard for me. So what are your thoughts on colorism in the arts, or just colorism in general amongst the black community?
I think it is a very real thing in the arts, especially in theater. Um, and it can go to opposite ends of the spectrum. Like there was a time when, everybody, like you said, there were a time when you were working and you were kind of lighter skinned, so you were booking gigs and so on and so forth. And then they went, all of a sudden there was this shift to this kind of dark skin, muscular, type physique, and that's where I talk about the black buck, if you
Yeah.
will. Um, and or you have shows that are supposed to be really kind of color inclusive and end up very beige when they
Ah,
should be black,
I, see, that's why
right?
you're here. That's why you're here. Tolerance. And then also like I want to shout out my women because colorism it's the opposite for women. Light skinned women are still the primary source of work actors.
Yeah,
Um whereas, it might have switched for the man, the light skinned man, but the women is
but it
still
did
like
it didn't switch for the woman,
it did not
you
switch for
know.
the woman. So I want to
And
shout
and
out my
and
women.
that's the same in society. Like, they prize this like beautiful dark skinned man, but they do not prize the beautiful dark skinned woman. And I'll also say, so alongside of musical theater in New York City, I don't work as much, but I was a kind of prominent hand model in New York City, right? So
How did
Have
wait, wait, I
worked.
mean, this is a side. This is like to the side. But how did you come across hand modeling? I know this personally. I've watched your hands be on billboards and in magazines and do all these things, and I'm like, that's my friend's hand. But but people don't know that hand models do exist, especially
Yes,
your big ass black hairs,
I know,
six
right? There's
five.
a whole industry. But
Yes.
um I was on tour. Um Actually, after we met on Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, I ended up booking the European tour of Jesus Christ Superstar, and I went to Europe for 6 months. And while I was on tour, there was a guy by the name of Lemuel Wade, and great guy. And he lived in Germany. He's a black guy from Chicago. Started dating a guy from Germany, fell in love, moved to Germany. So he was kind of a local there. And we were in the dressing room one day before the show, and I was putting just clear nail enamel on my nails. And he was like, John Lucas, you have beautiful hands. And I was like, thanks. And he was like, no, like you could be a hand model. And I was like, a what? Because I had never heard of it. And he was like, yeah, it's a hand model. Like whenever you see, you know, a ad for a computer or for a watch or, and you just see just the hands, those are hand models. I know someone who's a good friend of mine who lives in Munich and he used to be a hand model. He works for a casting agency. I'm going to introduce you when we get to Munich. Got to Munich. He introduced me. I showed him my hands. He's like, you could totally be a hand model. He taught me how to pose my hands. And he was like, you make a comp card. Because back, now people have Instagram now where you can just put all your photos on Instagram. And that's kind of your portfolio, if you will. But back in the day, you used to have a comp card, like this kind of larger postcard with different pictures, right? Models had them, hand models have them as well. And so he taught me how to pose my hands. And he's like, when you get back to the States, you um, get a photographer, take the photos, get the comp card made, and then you need to get the Ross Report, which was a magazine back in the day. They used to have a listing of all the agencies in New York City and LA, and would also give you kind of a heads up on the movie productions that were coming, so on and so forth. And you get it at the newsstand. And so I got the Ross Report, and he was like, any agency that had a parts division, you mail to. And that's what I did. I got my little manila envelopes and would just put the comp card in and write the address down. And I sent to like 15 agencies on a Friday. And that Monday, I got calls from the two top parts modeling agents in New York City.
I know that's right.
And that was the beginning. But colorism story. So I was doing background work on some SAG film, and when they have you in a holding, a lot of times it'll be in a church, like which is next to the location. And so I'm in a church basement, and we're just sitting around, and I was telling someone, that I was a hand model, and he asked the question, "How did you get into it?" And I kind of explained what I explained to you. And there was a guy sitting across from me. I will not say his name.
Uh oh.
Um,
Uh oh.
but he was listening, and I saw him kind of look at his hands like this and like, you know, and literally maybe 3 months later, he was signed by my agent
Oh wow.
and took like the industry by storm. He was in every ad because his hands were light, so they looked more ambiguous.
Mm.
Right? So his hands could be Latino, his hands could be black, his hands could be Indian, and so therefore he was a selected person and began to work like crazy. And there I was then. And then I saw him on set because we were both selected for a gig, and he acted like he didn't fucking know me.
Oh.
Um
And he chose the wrong one.
I like And so, yeah, colorism still plays a huge, can play
Well,
a huge factor
in
in.
the commercial world, they love ethnically ambiguous because I fit that, and so they love that phrase of like you don't look black, you don't look Puerto Rican, you don't look Latin, you don't whatever, you look we don't know what you are. And
Hmm.
it's very, very popular because I think what they're thinking is that they're going to be able to hit a whole bunch of different markets because nobody's going to know what that person is. But
Because to them, they want to hit as many, dots as possible, not understanding what it does to people of certain cultures in their
yeah,
perception and views.
yeah.
I work for a company that makes technology, and they hired hands of all different hues for this phone, and they used everyone's hand but mine, and I had the
Ooh.
darkest hands.
Ooh. Do not say that company's name. We trying to keep you working. We're trying to keep you working. I think I know the company though, but we gonna keep you working. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, that shame on them. Next question: what has social media changed, good or bad, or both, pertaining to being a black artist?
I think that on the good side, it is an easy way to get exposure for yourself. Where a lot of people have voices now as artists that didn't have them before social media. It's a lot easier to get their work out and displayed, which is really an awesome thing. I think the downside to social media is that, especially in the theater world, there's no need for PR anymore because you do your own PR. You book a Broadway show and they expect you to post so many times a week about this show, about your experiences. That is what the PR advertising companies used to do. Now they don't have to because we have to do the work, right? When we could just, back in the day, just focus on doing the show and getting you going on stage and, doing your best, and being the best person that you can be. But now you also got to be your own PR representative as well on social media. So that kind of sucks.
And then also the thing that me and you talk about the most, um, is connection. So now that there's social media, you know, I used to meet my fellow artists in the audition room, and now that there's social media, it's all shifted. It's all like, now that it's all self-tape and everything, and um with the social media account, sometimes you will go to an audition and they'll say, how many followers do you have? Blah 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 blah. You can like not get jobs because you don't have social media.
Yes.
And yeah,
Well, of course, we talk about, back in the day,
don't be
before
aging.
the technology, you showed up at, oh well, even before the technology, uh before you had to have an agent just to be in the chorus of a Broadway show, right?
Yeah,
Now, in order for, a lot of times, in order for you to book the Broadway show, you need to have an agent just to be in the chorus, where back in the day you went to the equity chorus call and you
and
could
book the
book
show.
a show,
Yeah,
right? And so everyone was there and you were at multiple calls per week. And so you saw the same people, and in a sense, they kind of became your coworkers
yeah,
because you saw them every day. And that's where you built a lot of your long lasting relationships.
yeah.
So a lot of the younger artists today don't have that experience. And so therefore their community is a lot smaller, because they don't get a chance to meet the people on the audition line and be like, are they seeing non-union today? Okay, better luck tomorrow, right?
Yeah, my
Um,
favorite thing was like, oh, we just got cut. Okay, bitch, let's go across the street and get us a hot dog. They
let's go to
didn't want us.
BBQ.
Yeah, let's go.
BBQ.
Yeah, I miss those days. We were grinding. We were grinding.
And it was
Um,
community. It
it was a
like
lot of
it,
community.
it was
It was
a
a lot of
true
community.
sense of community, and they've lost that. Technology, it makes you accessible, but not in the tactile. And so there's no longing for the actual connection. And unfortunately, I think as people get older, there's going to be a lot more lonely people because of it.
I have a whole series about loneliness. But anyway, let's continue on to okay, this question is one of my favorites. What are you tired of explaining to white people?
What am I tired of explaining
To white
to
people.
white people?
Don't get
That
canceled. Don't get canceled.
um the atrocities that happen to our people, that shouldn't be up for explanation. It should be known, right? I shouldn't have to explain it to you. And when you feel that I do have to explain it to you, I feel like my intelligence is being insulted,
Boop.
right? Like come on, like you should know. And if you don't know, it's because you don't want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Good answer. Okay. These are getting a little harder. What did we inherit that we mistake for love?
Um Encouragement without physical connection. Um in a lot of black communities, household, especially amongst like black men and black boys, um when a person falls down, you don't grab them and hold them. You stand next to them and say, "Get up. You can get up. You're not hurt."
Mm.
Right? That's the encouragement. But what sometimes a lot of those people need is they need someone to grab their hand, right? And say, "You're okay. You all right? The baby's crying. He needs a hug." Physical contact is another thing that we are lacking, like just casual physical contact, hugs, handshakes, so on and so forth. And we take them for granted and don't realize how important they are. And if they weren't important, there'd be no reason for newborn babies to be held bare chested to their parents,
Mm.
right?
That's a
Physical
whole
touch
word. Yeah.
is important, but as we get older, especially with black boys, you stand off and you make them get up on their own, right? But then they're not getting the actual love or I don't know if you'll call it intimacy, as we know it, but they're not getting that physical connection um, that they actually need, and they're acting out because of it. A lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of people that are punching people in the face and acting crazy and tearing up shit, and they really need a hug. They need someone to tell them that they're okay and that they are loved. What's going on with you? How was your day? Right? And they don't get that.
Yeah. Amen. What are your thoughts, speaking of love, what are your thoughts on black love?
I absolutely love it. I think that there needs to definitely be a lot. Well, no, there is a lot of discussion on, a black on black love, and but we need to be explaining to our youth the about that concept and that idea. It is very common in our community because of what we have been fed, our experiences, so on and so forth, to have high self-esteem and low racial esteem, or so that you think highly of yourself but you don't think highly of your people,
Mm.
right? You think highly
Mm.
of yourself but you don't think highly of black women,
Mm.
right? And then you act accordingly.
Mm.
When you see a lot of interracial relationships, especially black men with others, are you dating that person because you really think they're great, or are you dating them because you think they're better than these black women that you could possibly be dating? And that is a serious question that is not um, really presented to black men, young black men, right? That question needs to be presented in high school because that's where they're developing the perceptions,
Right.
right? Of what is beautiful, what is not, as they're growing into themselves. But nobody's talking about it. And we end up kind of in situations, I always tell, because on the side, I am a college and career navigator for Black youth, and I'm sending kids to college, so on and so forth. And we're having these talks about culture and experiences in college, and noticing like the NBA has become very light skinned. as of late. And you go to the NBA draft and you see all these white moms and these black dads, right? A lot of them met in college. Um, and um, I find what I experienced and what is still happening, because of different the experiences, the cultures of different people. Black girls are sent to college and they are told, do not come back with any babies,
Mm,
right? Do not get pregnant. Do your homework. Do not get pregnant. Black boys are sent under the direction of, do your homework. I do not want a call from the police. Do not get into trouble. Stay out of trouble. Get your degree, enjoy yourself. Stay out of trouble.
mm,
Well, a lot of these white girls, their parents are like, well, this is a time of exploration, so we need to figure out what birth control we're going to put her on. The black girls ain't getting sent with birth control because the black parents don't want to admit that their child would possibly be sexually active.
mm,
So they're in their rooms to be nuns.
mm.
Where a lot of the white girls, they exploring and are ready to ride all the rides.
I can't with you. And before you get canceled, I'm gonna stop you there because I know you
And we
way too
get what
well.
we get, right?
Shoot, you going? You know, it's tricky for me, and I'm just gonna comment on myself really quickly. It's tricky for me as a person that is light skinned, and lighter complected, so people can, you know, see that I have some type of mix, even though my mix is Latino. Um, it's interesting for me, thinking about, because we talk a lot. It's because of you. I talk a lot about freedmen because I didn't even like
Mhm.
think about that versus
The
like
black freedmen,
yeah, the
part of the
black
people.
freedmen. And then I started. I was on Ancestry and I was looking up my history, and I saw all of these men that were freedmen, and then under their description it said mulatto, and so it always hits me in the heart because it makes me wonder, like, were they like touched by massa, or was it like, how did this happen in that time period, you know what I mean? And
Most likely they were. Um,
most likely they were, but yeah, but it still hurts my heart, and it still makes me think a lot about my ancestors and what they went through, and how we walk through the world, to also looking at my mom and my aunt and a lot of people that are fair skinned, um, just looking at how they walk through the world and how it's interesting because my mom was like, I'm only going to date a dark skinned man, and I kind of turned into her in some weird way.
mhm,
Like, I
mhm,
don't date nobody
mhm.
light skinned no more. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't know. I just kind of turned into her. But yeah, and I feel like we as light skinned people, because sometimes they say that we are the most like radical in race sometimes, but I think it's because we're always trying to prove ourselves.
Mhm.
We're trying to
Yeah.
prove our blackness.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for acceptance from the black community before anyone else. I want the black community to love me even more so than the gay community. If the black
Yeah.
community loves me, I'm fine. You know what I
You're like,
mean?
I'm
Like,
good. And
yeah, I'm
I've heard that experience from a number of people that I know that are lighter skinned, because you end up in this middle place where you're not white, and white people will let you know that you're not white, but then black people will question your blackness because you're so light.
yep,
But I
yep.
was also going to say, when you talked about, looking at ancestry and so on and so forth, when we talk about colorism and all of those different nuances, my well, before I say that, people love to say, "Oh, I got Indian in my family." Black people,
We do
oh,
say that.
because my great grandmother, she was Indian,
Yeah,
and
we
so
say
on,
that.
or my great great grandmother. Well, it's sure enough in my family. I think she is my double great grandmother or my triple great grandmother. She had this long name with the name Levy in
Mm,
it, Levy Hall, last two names. And my dad was like, yeah, from Florida, saying, she was. red nose Indian, that's what I heard, and blah 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 blah. And I was just at a for my aunt, and family members came, and they were talking about that family line, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we find out that she's a descendant of David Levy Yulee,
Mm.
who was the first Jewish U.S. senator in America,
Wow.
who was a slave owner. Now he was Moroccan,
Mm.
um, and was a Sephardic Jew,
Mm.
but had over 1,000 slaves.
Wow.
Is known as the godfather of the Florida railroads, because he helped create the railroad infrastructure in the state of Florida. But we couldn't wait to say that she was Indian when really she was half black and Moroccan from a Sephardic Jew
Mm.
slave owner,
Mm.
right? But and for a lot of other people, ancestor is really just mixed black and white,
Yeah.
but it goes into the colorism as long as I am something other than just black.
It reminds me there was a time when my niece looked at me. She was really young, and I don't know. She's I might be mad at me for repeating this, but she looked at me and she said, "Uncle James, I want to be white," and that just broke my entire heart.
Yeah.
I didn't understand where that was coming from. She's like, "Just white people, they're so pretty. They got it better." And so I don't know. I just bring that up because that makes me emotional. But I mean, it's funny because she's the most. My niece now is like, fist in the air, Afro puffs, ain't playing with you. But when she
Yeah.
was younger, she had that thing of whiteness is better, and yeah, it's it's an interesting thing as an uncle to witness because I didn't know how to handle it at the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I didn't know what to say to her, but I kept trying to affirm to her how beautiful she was and how beautiful black people were. And that's all I could think of doing in that moment. But I remember being devastated, and just being like really, really hurt and upset. And I'm like, oh my God, we got to do better. We got to do
I
better.
think that history is very important. A lot of kids, because I felt that way when I was younger. I wanted green eyes, or and lighter skin, and all of these kind of European things that I saw that were getting attention,
Yes.
right? Um, But as I begin to learn more about my people and the history, the richness of the history, of not just Black people, but even my ancestors. My mom's side, my great grandfather left 202 acres of land in Mississippi. You know, Only like less than 20% of Black people in Mississippi in the 1800s owned, over 10 acres of land. And there he was passing down 202 acres. His father was a prominent blacksmith, you know. And so to know that you come from that type of lineage and you have that backstory gives you a foundation where you grow up understanding, no, I do not have the privilege of these white people, but I don't have to be them because I have my own history.
Amen. That's very well said. Preach, preacher. This is the question I think you hate. No, no, it's the next one. Number
Okay.
10. What are you in the middle of becoming? And are you scared of her or him?
What am I in the middle of becoming? I do feel like I am, and I think in a couple of ways. Number one, really understanding that I am middle aged. Right now, coming through the pandemic was a time warp. It's like we lost 5 years, and now we're just in this fast forward mode where we missed those years, and for me, those were kind of like vital years in my 40s. And so understanding that I am truly middle aged, I have so many, summers left to live and experience and to grow and hopefully influence and nurture people for the better. But truly understanding I'm not 25 years old anymore. I can't be at the club every night trying to do the jump splits. You know, I'm not that person
I can't.
anymore.
I
But
can't.
and in the same breath, also the shift as an artist. Now I am a middle-aged person in musical theater and those arts, and that is a different lane.
Yeah.
I'm not going to every audition, like I used to, just hungry. Now I'm like, I ain't going to that shit. And just just a lot more focused about what I want to do in life and trying to make very specific decisions so that I don't waste time.
And my old ass still be trying to jump into those splits. You know how I do.
You'll be in dance class and you feel like a Ferrari rearing down the street, but when you wake up the next morning, you feel like a broke down freaking Chevy.
I know that's right.
Um,
I know that's right. I know that is right. Last question before we do the rapid fire. What This is the one I think you don't like. What is the one thing about yourself you are still not ready to say out loud and do not get canceled?
no, to be so one thing that I have kind of been talking about, people have been telling me, but I still kind of have this um hesitancy, if you will, that I really need to fully explore Los Angeles. And I probably should have been in Los Angeles a little bit earlier than going now. I could have had some more success, and kind of a different experience. Again, New York City is an amazing place, but as I was told by an associate, she said that a friend told her living in New York City is like dating an abusive supermodel.
Uh-oh.
When you move to New York and, on a Monday, you are feeling great. You are at the fabulous party. The paparazzi is taking your picture and you are on top of the world. And by Thursday, that model punched you in the face and you are sitting on the curb bleeding and crying, saying, Jesus, I'm a good person. Why are they doing me like this? You know, but by Sunday, you back at another party on top of the world, and it is a roller coaster, right? And so that to say, I have had awesome times in New York City, but some very rough times. And I didn't want to let it go. I think sometimes I was beating a dead horse and holding on too long.
Well, I
Um,
still have hope, lots of hope for you to come back to New York City and be next to me in the city, kicking and splitting and jumping and doing all the things that we used to do because
I'm
I
still
miss
working
you.
on it,
Huh?
but I am definitely trying to also spend more time in Los Angeles as well.
And just know, I mean, I know you know this, but the time is the time, right? So what you went
Indeed.
through is the past. And when you do go to LA, it'll be the right time because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Does
Indeed,
that make
indeed,
sense?
indeed. Yes.
Yes. When you're supposed to go, you will be there, and I will be cheering you on, screaming, going, "That's my friend." Ah,
Thank you. Thank you. I love you.
I love me too. No, I'm joking. I love
Ah.
you too. I love you more. I have some good people in my life, and I am very, very blessed. These are supposed to be rapid fire. First thing that comes to your mind before we conclude. They don't have to be. If it sparks a conversation, it just does. But
Okay.
they're supposed to be rapid fire, and these are the ones that I did not send to you.
Right.
Uh, and we are talking to you, Sharice. We love you. This is for you. This is for us. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying the conversation. John is so smart and just has like I don't know. He's always been wise before his years. Like you were wise as a young person, um,
Old soul.
and yeah, old soul. And you like I don't know, you speak life into me a lot. I've been, we've been through a lot together. We've seen a lot
Yeah.
of things. We've seen a
Hmm.
lot of things together.
Yeah.
A whole lot of things. Come on, big guys. A whole lot of things together. So I just appreciate you and I'm grateful for you. Okay, rapid fire. Here we go. Favorite soul song.
Favorite soul song. Oh, there's so many.
The first one that came to your mind. Rapid
Okay,
fire.
okay, hit the ground, Liz Wright.
Oh, come on, Liz Wright. You come on, Jazz. Favorite black musical.
Favorite black musical. Um, okay, I really love Jelly's Last Jam. Actually,
Really?
yes, I've
And
always
you
loved
don't
that
tap.
musical. Don't tap. I love to watch it. You know, actually, I started tapping in college and was doing very well and excelling. And again, we talk about not being put in stereotypes, so on and so forth. They're like, John, you're doing so great. You're gonna be like the next tapper. And I was like, why all the black people got to tap? And I stopped tapping. Big mistake. I think I would have had a different career in New York if I knew how to tap.
Very
But
true.
I love Jelly's Last Jam. But I also love The Wiz. But I think it's just the gay in me that loves the Emerald City scene in the movie. It, 'cause,
You got to
and they
be
don't
seen
do,
green,
and
baby.
they don't do that in the actual musical. Um, and so I was kind of disappointed when they brought this new production of The Wiz back, and they did not try to do any like true essence of that scene because it still, 30 years later, is epic.
Mm. I have no comment on that new production of The Wiz. All right, next up, we have favorite black thing we do or favorite black tradition.
Favorite black thing we do or favorite black tradition. You know, I actually think I've really started to think about the connection of line dancing and how it really. I wish more men would be comfortable, more straight men
Hetero, yes.
or heteronormative men
Hmm.
would be more comfortable line dancing, kind of like the cowboys in Texas how they do their line dance, but it brings a togetherness that cannot be denied.
Yeah.
um and it is so beautiful, and people just once they learn it, they get on up and they join on in, and it is something that is truly, again, truly black,
No,
right?
that's right. Wobble
um
baby, wobble baby, wobble baby, wobble. I ain't
Wobble.
mad at
Shout
it.
out now, y'all, right?
If you had to explain being black to an alien in one sentence, what would you say?
Oh my.
I told you I had some crazy ass questions in here.
I would probably say, look, they don't like us, but they get everything from us.
Boop. Love it. Favorite soul food spot?
Favorite soul food spot? Oh,
You don't be going to get no collard greens nowhere.
like, where do I go? Because I'm in the Chicagoland area at the moment, and there's so many
What's your favorite
spots.
one? First one. If I was new to Chicago and I was like, John, take me to soul food, where are you taking me?
Now, no. To be honest, I haven't don't really go out a lot because I've been on a budget lately. Number one, but number two, I have godmothers that cook all the time here, so I'm always like going to their house, like, what y'all cook this Sunday,
Yeah.
right? So I haven't really been on the restaurant scene here in the Chicago area, and when we were in New York, there was like Manners, and then
There's Melba's, there's
there's
Sylvia's,
Melba, and there's Sylvia's.
and there's this
Um,
Charles pan fried chicken, baby, up
Now
here in Harlem.
I don't eat chicken anymore.
Oh, I do
So,
know that.
but maybe
Ooh,
they got something
they
else.
still got good collards and good cornbread.
Okay, but then I can go there and have some
I will
sides.
I will take you next time you come back to visit. All right,
Yeah.
favorite black playwright or author?
Favorite black playwright or author?
I'm gonna tell everyone the story real quick. When I was younger and I met John, I hated reading, and John was like, "You need to read this book, Invisible
Um,
Life by Elin Harris." And he gave me Invisible Life by Elin Harris, and it changed the trajectory of my life in terms of reading books. I haven't put down a book since. I fell in love with Elin Harris and that whole story. I saw myself, it was a mirror. So you actually changed my life a little bit in terms of me wanting to read because I did not want to read. All I wanted to do was sing, dance, and act. I didn't care about nothing else. And that Harris book, Invisible Life, still to this day, I don't know who's producing the Elin Harris TV series of Invisible Life and all the books that he's written. I would love to see that done. Maybe I got
yeah,
to get famous so that I can do it, but it's still to this day. It changed the trajectory of my life. So thank you.
you are very well. You know, it's funny. Elin Harris always one of the greats. So we'll put him. We'll put him on the list, if you will. Right. Um, we were just talking about Toni Morrison, and I have not read a full Toni
She
Morrison
hard.
book.
It's a hard as she's hard to read.
She's a hard read, but the way that she's able to describe things are just so magnificent. That I'm gonna put her on the list without even having read her stuff, just hearing passages. I'm like, she was before her time
Yep.
and just epic. But I think every American, but definitely Black freedmen should read The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson,
Mm,
and the true story of the Great Migration and how pivotal it was in the history of the United States in um, the last century, um, and how important, even though we didn't know what we were doing, we were changing this country for forever.
great book. Great recommendation. Favorite black recording artist?
Favorite Black recording artist? Oh.
You only got three. You only got two more.
Favorite Black recording artist? So many.
Pick the one. First one comes to your mind.
Phyllis Hyman.
Ooh, from Pittsburgh, like me, baby. Yes.
There's something so just velvety yet ethereal about her voice.
You ain't got to tell me twice. Um, Favorite black historical figure, and don't you dare say Martin, Malcolm, or Rosa Parks.
Um, I would say, for me, Bayard Rustin.
Good
Um,
choice.
Bayard Rustin, as you know, was pretty much like an architect in the civil rights movement. But I will never forget watching the documentary on him on a PBS, Channel 13 in New York, and sitting in my Washington Heights apartment in my 20s and hearing his story ignited a fire in me. I think a lot of times in the gay culture, especially the Black gay culture, we 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 will be told that we are not included without anybody saying a word.
Mm,
The straight community can let you know that you're not included without saying anything. Their body
mm,
language will tell you. And so when it comes to social change and the in politics and movements, a lot of times I think the gays, especially gay Black men, have taken a back seat, and not necessarily been included or their insight valued.
yeah,
And so watching that documentary told me that I can be involved, I should be involved, and I deserve to be involved.
amen. This is the final question for my dear friend John. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you
I'm
for
grateful
having
for
me.
you.
This has been great.
Of course, you are amazing human, and the world should know your name, and they should know your hands, and they should know that voice of yours because you sing for the gods. Um, the last question is favorite thing about yourself.
The favorite thing about myself, um, is my what would I call it?
I got a
My
lot of favorite
encour-
things about you, so I don't want to say them.
I would say like my true like one of my true gifts is encouragement in life coaching.
Amen.
Like I, you know, have helped people learn how to audition and have they book Broadway shows. I have taught many people, my friends off cliffs. Like that is just an innate gift, that I believe the universe gave me. A lot of it is, empathy and compassion and so on and so forth. And then we talk about growing up black and gay, those are things as a young male that are frowned upon, and they try to strip them from you. But those are actually things that make me powerful and make me, strong and vibrant.
That's your superpower.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how to speak life into folks. Thank all of you that have tuned in and watched. I'm gonna do this again with more friends. I think in during Pride Month I might have like 4 or 5 of my gay besties up on here. We're gonna turn out and act silly, and I'll change the questions up. But thank you, John. You are the best, and thank you guys for joining us. And I will
Thank
post this
you.
somewhere.
It's been
Um,
great. Bye, everybody.
that's it. Bye.